Last time I was here, there was a building over there. And now pulling up to this shop, I pulled up and I drove past it because the building's not there.
Yeah.
Then I want to know kind of what happened.
I get a call from a buddy of mine at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, man, I got some bad news for you. I think your shop's on fire.
The Kalispell fire chief calls a building in downtown Kalispell a total loss after it caught fire early this morning. Crews responded at 2:45 a.m. to a report of a structure fire at the intersection of Center Street and 6th Avenue West.
What's up, man?
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
It's nice to finally meet you in real life. I still don't totally know what you do.
Yeah, I'm a custom woodworker in the Valley. We do literally everything from hand-carved pieces to hutches, dining room tables, Murphy beds, we do it all.
So when you say custom woodworking, I mean, I'm just gonna ask real questions. Like, what do you, like, a little bit more in detail, because custom woodworking, you're putting a tree in my brother's warehouse right now.
Yeah.
Like, when I think custom woodworking, I don't think putting a tree in an Airbnb treehouse.
Right, yeah.
But you just do everything.
You know, it's kind of just more, I mean, I don't know how I do business without it being an extension of my personality. I've always been a curious person, and so naturally that's the way the business flows. It's anything that catches my curiosity and a little bit different beat than everybody else. Not that we're trying to be, but it just kind of always seems to work out that way. And so it's a lot of fun that way. It keeps me engaged, keeps me motivated, and yeah, so it could one day be putting a tree in a house, and the next day I'm doing a custom cabinet piece, or I'm doing a hood vent with liquid metal, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How'd you start?
To backtrack a little bit, I was always in construction, building houses as a general contractor for years. So I've always been dabbled in some of this stuff. A lot of times, project I would be working on at the time would lend itself to some kind of special piece that somebody would want. So I've always kind of had that in the background, but it was never my main goal. Back 2007, 2008, I had to transition for a little bit into the oil field. That was only going to be a 1-year stint, and then it ended up being 7 years later that I'm literally anything I could do to get out of this would be awesome. And so I was doing a lot of daydreaming at the time. And I did just remember going through just geeking out on guys wood shops and just thinking man, it'd be so cool if I could make that happen someday. When we finally pulled the trigger on leaving the oil field, we really didn't know what that was going to look like. And at the time, my wife runs these markets. They're these vintage markets that we were popping up all over the US in several different cities. And they do a lot of art installations as you walk in. And one of them, they wanted these mushrooms. It had it was kind of weird, a fairy type of a theme going on. And so they wanted these wooden mushrooms carved. I never carved anything in my life. I've done a lot of woodworking, but I've never carved anything. And they asked if I could do it. And I figured, what the heck, might as well give it a shot. In my opinion, they were terrible, but apparently they were good enough that people wanted to buy them. And so after that, we started having requests for, who knew, wooden mushrooms to be carved.
So that's the mushroom origin story.
That's the mushroom origin
story.
Yeah.
I thought, because that's the other part that made you so mysterious.
These are the baby mushrooms.
Wow.
We've literally done mushrooms from this size to full on table mushrooms with inlaid chessboards. People wanted like a game table.
This is a whole different work. Like, to prove that you can just do anything. It's like, I've never even seen anything like this, or thought about anything like this, or thought of having a mushroom table with a chessboard in it.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. These are rad. How many mushrooms do you make a week?
That's a tough question. It can depend, you know, like we're making a lot of different things other than just the mushrooms, but we've made thousands of these. This is all starting as around, so I work with a lot of the local arborists. Mm-hmm. They know what I'm looking for species-wise, and it's pretty cool because we're able to take a lot of the hardwoods around in the valley are actually coming down because of either like disease or whatever, so they're needing to be removed. Mm-hmm. So they kind of know. They call me up when they find something I'm looking for, and so yeah, it's all just raw rounds that I was kept stored up and drying for years, mm-hmm. and then we carve them down into a mushroom shape. This one's a piece of elm. Actually, this is poplar, and this is a piece of elm. So this is actually a dark elm. You
never really see the wood like this.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's always cut and you see the rings, or you see the natural grain at a table, but really rad. Last time I was here, there was a building over there. And now pulling up to this shop, I pulled up and I drove past it because the building's not there.
Yeah.
And when I say the building's not there, it's gone. It's a concrete pad. And I know that was your full-time shop.
Yeah.
Like, what? I want to know a few things, right? I want to know, starting that shop, how did that feel? Then I want to know kind of what happened. And then I really want to know on the backside, because I think these like wild seasons in life, and especially something like that where you've spent so much time, where you've made so much, and then it goes away. I mean, that's what life is, but it's also, you know, it's a weird thing, especially I have to walk past it every day, I'm sure.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild journey as a whole. You know, when we started off over there, in fact, I started off in a little tiny shop. I should backtrack. I started off in the garage.
As we do.
Yeah, and with no intention of turning this into like a full-time gig. And it was when I made the commitment to rent out a tiny little space that's attached to the back side of this building we're in right now. I was renting it out at the time. It's like 800 square feet. It's not very big. And that was when we were like, okay, we're gonna make this our full-time gig. And shortly after that, as wild as it seems, we ended up on a HGTV show, mm-hmm. and that just like launched us into the stratospheres. So there was a shop that's on the same property. At the time, it was a transmission shop. It wasn't available yet, and it's wild that it worked out. Shortly after that, they decided they wanted to retire. They close up and move out, and we rented that shop. And again, at that time, just the thought of having a 4,000 square foot shop to myself to be able to do however I wanted was just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, we didn't really have the time to like really like think it through, and this is how we want to build a shop. This is what we want it to look, because we were just like already grinding. Yeah. And so we made it work. It wasn't exactly like set up the way I want to be set up, but it was a working shop, and we did a lot of work in there, and we were just grinding away for years, honestly, just trying to keep up with the demand. And the one thing about that shop was just like, it gave us so much opportunity, but I always like wondered like what I could do with it if I really had the time to like set it up the way I wanted to set it up. And fast forward to now, I get a call from a buddy of mine at 3 o'clock. He's with KPD, 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, man, I got some bad news for you. I think your shop's on fire. I thought he was talking about, honestly, maybe one of the little side shops on the brick building. I didn't know it was my shop. And the more he started talking, he said there's explosions, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I was worried people were getting hurt. So I rushed down here at 3 o'clock in the morning, and in a matter of like 30 minutes, you could just watch the roof of the whole thing just collapse in on itself.
On scene, firefighters found the metal building ablaze. Kalispell Fire Chief Dan Pierce told NBC Montana crews worked to put out hot spots early this morning, and the fire damaged phone and fiber optic lines, causing a major communication outage in northwest Montana.
It hit me when I really realized that the worst thing already happened. You know, it burnt up and it's gone, and I'm still okay. We're still here. We still have work to do. I guess it was kind of freeing, honestly. You know, there's like the other side to that is the fact that you realize, like, you know, we survived what could be one of the worst things, and I think we're better for it. And, you know, and now we're excited about the opportunity to rebuild our shop the way we wanted to do it in the first place, with more intentionality, and just come back bigger and better.
Now, with that new vision of the new shop, like, what's next for the company?
Really, we've spent a lot of time just like playing catch up, and it was awesome. It was an awesome opportunity. But really what's fueled our passion is just kind of leaning into that ultra creative side, doing something that hasn't been done before. So I think, you know, while it was awesome to be able to crank out a bunch of mushrooms and do stuff like that, I think we really want to lean into more high-end custom stuff, maybe a more local presence. You know, we were shipping all over the US, Canada, like we mentioned, and I think I would really like to focus more on our local presence and just doing like inside of a new build, like art installations, anything that's just kind of unique, and that's the direction I think we're working towards.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, something feels good about working more with the local community.
Maybe this is just more prominent on my mind right now because of what happened with the fire, but I would say don't let fear be the thing that holds you back. There's so many opportunities that we had in this business where we could have allowed the anxiety, the fear of like, what if we fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if a building burns down? Hold us back. But you know, we just always leaned into the fact that, you know, it's if we're passionate about it, if this is something that's really fueling us on the creative side, then, you know, it's worth the risk. And it's been a wild ride. It's not always been a perfectly smooth ride, but it's been super gratifying, and I would never change any part of it, including the fact that we got this challenge in front of us now. I think we're better for it, and I would say that if you're one of those types of people that likes to overthink and overanalyze, you got to find a way to shut that off and just go for it sometimes.